Thank you all for joining the webinar. We're excited to present Auto Accrual AI. I think most of you have joined for maybe one of two reasons, maybe both reasons. You either struggle at month end with your accruals, or your leadership told you to do something with AI. So if either of those reasons are why you're here, welcome, and we're excited to show you Auto Accrual AI. It's an idea that has been in our head for a long time. I'm really excited that we finally pulled this together and are ready to launch this. So looking forward to present this to you today. Just from a audio perspective, you're in listening mode only, without video. And if you have any questions, please use the Zoom Q&A functions. Jeff, who is on here, he's going to be the person answering questions. So we're going to try and answer real time. If there's anything we can't do real time, we will follow up afterwards with answers as we have them. So who are we? I am Bruce McQuillan. I'm a partner in the Coupa practice here at CrossCountry. I've been here at CrossCountry for a little over 3 years, but been in the source to pay technology space and working with Coupa since 2010. Melissa, I'll hand it over to you.
Great. Hi, everyone. Melissa Gorai-Connolly with CrossCountry Consulting. I am an associate director, and I have spent my 15-year career working with companies as an auditor, as an internal accountant, and now as a technology consultant, working with clients to automate accounting and business processes. So looking forward to being here.
Thanks, Melissa. So like Bruce mentioned, I'm Jeff Hammond. I'm a technical architect at CrossCountry, and I've been working with Coupa since release 6. Looking forward to answering your questions in the Q&A chat as they come up. Back to you, Bruce.
All right, so I will kick this off just very quick high level about who is CrossCountry Consulting. For all of those who are joining us, some of you may have been working with us for years, some of you may have just learned about us, but CrossCountry is a boutique advisory firm that supports thousands of clients across the United States and the world. We have about 1,300 employees spread out across our 8 US and multiple global offices, and we have a number of different service lines where we take a holistic approach to support our clients. We don't think about technology as a silo, and then risk as a different silo, accounting as a third silo. Everything really is your business and your process. And that is the approach that when you work with CrossCountry, your teams take, which really helped us create and determine that this solution is required, but not just a technology solution. It solves a real business need for our clients from a risk and controls, accounting advisory, and business process transformational perspective. And that's really the lens that we will take to any project that you would work with us for, as well as the solution that we're presenting with you today. Next slide. Off, we are going to launch our first polling question, and we would like to know, how many transactions are you accruing from Coupa each month? Once we're done, we'll show the results, but I can't see them yet. All right. So in terms of accruals, we have most of our guests are accruing well above 20 transactions each month. Some don't know, but a solid 20% of you have over 500, and 25% of you are accruing between 100 to 500 transactions, which is not insignificant. Just to get a better understanding of who we are today, and then we can really make sure that we're talking about your needs. If we want to go on to the next slide. This is what we call get to know you a little bit. Second question is, how much time does your team spend on accruals each month? While you answer this, I know from my personal experience, we spend about 2 days a month doing this, and I would hope that those of you who have 500 or more are spending more time than those with 10. But if it isn't that the case, then, we are here to help you either way. Accruals are always fun for everyone. All right. And many of you are spending, as I kind of expected, at least half a day, if not a full day of work. 8 to 20 hours could add up to multiple people over a week, and then even 20 hours or more. So this is real time that is spent by your team. And Bruce, if you want to move on to the next slide, we can hop right in here. And as you can probably see, right, today we're going to really talk about that problem, addressing what is the challenge with accruals, how Auto Accrual AI can solve it. But most of our time here will go into our live demonstration, showing you what we've developed and how we can support you. And then, of course, concluding with next steps as well as Q&A. At any time, as we mentioned, please feel free to put questions in the chat. Next slide, Bruce. Great. So as we all saw during doing those polling questions, you are not alone. For really any controller, any accounting professional, the accruals process is one of the most manual and error-prone parts of the close process. I don't know about all of you, but typically, right, you have someone tracking down PO owners via email, someone building accrual workbooks in Excel, hoping that workbook doesn't crash, posting journal entries, reversing the journal entries, and then having to prove that the numbers are right with source documents that could be in any number of places. And when you add that up, that's where we saw some of those hours. So if you're in the bucket of 8 to 15 hours, you are right on par with what many studies say is the average number of time to do accruals every month. That's nearly 2 full days of work. And many of you are even more than that. It's a task that doesn't have a lot of insight as well, and it's a lot of data collection. This is really where accounting and finance leaders need to resolve. These estimates are guesswork. They can be wrong. And they're often wrong in ways that really matter to you and your team, because when you have variances, it's hard to find true ups. It's hard to understand how to answer your auditors. And this is really where risk and restatement risk can start. It also leaves you with exposure on controls. When a request lives in an email thread, when documents to support those assumptions are all over the place, it's hard to track numbers, there's no audit trail, and no clear accountability. If an auditor asks you how to support a number, most likely it can take hours just digging up that assumption and understanding how to answer that question if you can prove it at all. And then finally, this is always my favorite thing, is that nothing gets better over time. It's a new process every single month. So you can follow the same steps with different results, and the same mistakes can also carry forward because nothing in the process learns from the last close. So what you have is a slow process that's hard to defend and incapable of improving on its own. And this is the problem that we set out to solve with Auto Accrual AI. All right. So then our last polling question before we get into some of this material is, what is your biggest accrual related challenge? And I'm very excited to see the answer to this question. For me, it would probably go into audit support and manual effort, but I'm curious what you all have to say. Audit support was only like once a year, but when it was that once a year, it was always a really good time. All right, manual effort takes the lead, accuracy behind, and then of course, completeness, audit, and visibility. So with that, Bruce, I will let you hop in and talk about what we've developed.
Yeah, so how does Auto Accrual AI actually help here? So it's really one unified solution to help do accruals across 4 different categories. So we've broken it up into really 4 categories. Service POs. This is where we're going to use AI prediction. We're going to look at the PO milestones, invoice history, and we're going to make a prediction, and we're going to ask end users to validate it. For material POs, you may be doing these as journal entries today and collecting everything via spreadsheets and pulling reports from Coupa. We're going to automate that process. So we're going to do the auto post for material POs. Same thing for non-PO invoices. We're going to actually take those pending invoices and create the accrual for you versus you having to do anything manually. The last bucket, which is not part of our initial release, but it is in our roadmap is to also handle recurring accruals. So if you have a source where we can pull recurring accruals from, things like rent, insurance, anything that you know is going to happen every month, as long as you have a data source for that, we're going to make that something that you can actually accrue from going forward. That will be in a future release. So how does it actually work? So what we're going to do is pull data from Coupa. We're going to pull POs, invoices, and receipts from Coupa. We're going to do the AI prediction for the services POs. We're going to send messages out via Teams to the PO owners. Initial releases Teams. We're going to also build in Slack messages and email messages in a later release. Users will have the ability to one-click approve, or they can go ahead and adjust. The system continues to learn and provide and learns from feedback we get from the end users, and as more volume comes in. And then in the last step, we're going to post the accrual. So I'm going to actually walk through this in the live demo. So I'll kind of go. You'll see all these 6 steps happen in our demo that we're going to do. So let me jump into that. There's the 6 steps we're going to go through, and I'm going to walk through all of these steps one by one, and you're going to see how this works. So we have the first step is we're going to pull our data from Coupa. So, and when we pull our data from Coupa, we're going to break it up into 3 different buckets. Services POs, that's where we're going to use AI to predict what the accrual should be. Material POs, again, that we're going to do the straight math and figure out what the accrual should be. Here, we're just really automating that manual process that you probably have today. And for non-PO invoices, it's going to be the same scenario. So the first step is to pull in the data from Coupa. So let's go ahead and do that. When we do that, we'll see these tables populated with the data that came in from Coupa. So we have, for the services POs, we have three POs that we're going to be looking at as we go through this demo. You can see different vendors, different PO amounts, different start dates, different previous invoices. How are we going to come up with the accrual for these? We're going to use AI to predict it, and then we're going to validate it. For the materials POs, like I said, we're just really going to do straight math. So we already know what that accrual should be. We're just going to carry this forward and make this into the journal entry at the end. Teams message to the one person who did not perform their receipt yet. So we got the invoice from the supplier, but they haven't done the receipt. So we're going to message that end user and let them know they should do the receipt. If they don't do that receipt, we are going to create the accrual for that. And the last bucket is the non-PO invoices. Same idea. We're just waiting for these to be approved. We could send Teams messages asking them to push this along so we don't need to accrue. But if they don't, we're going to post that accrual for them at the end of the month.
So before we even move into the AI capabilities, what this dashboard is doing is giving you visibility as well into your entire complete population that is subject for accruals, both known like the material POs, the non-PO invoices, and then this is where we'll use AI as we move forward to how we can get automation behind those services POs. But this dashboard is here for visibility. Instead of looking at multiple places, it's all here in one.
All right, so let's do the analysis on the services POs. So we're going to focus strictly on services POs for the next few screens. So let's do the analysis. This is where AI is kicking in, and it's making the prediction for each of these POs. So how is it making that prediction? It's looking at the PO amount and the remaining balance. It's looking at the start date and end date of the service that was documented on the PO. It's looking at prior invoice history. It's looking at any milestones and deliverables that may have been documented on the purchase order. It's looking at comments and notes that somebody may have put on the requisition that made it to the PO. If people have added notes along the way, it's going to look at those notes and take those as input into the prediction. And it's looking at any prior validation feedback. So as the system is used month over month, it's going to learn from the validation feedback that it gets from the end users, and it's going to use that to also make its prediction. So if you remember, we had 3 services POs on the previous screen. The first one is for Tech Forward. It's a software license, $78,000 a year. We've already received 5 invoices. All 5 of those invoices were $6,500 every month. AI is predicting it's going to be a $6,500 accrual for this month. 98% confidence on that. It's probably closer to 100. And it gives us the how did it come up with the prediction, and gives us the red, yellow, green indicators to indicate how confident it is based on the criteria. So this one's pretty straightforward. It's a software license. It's going to be $6,500 this month. For Pinnacle Advisory, this is a staff AUG. It's a $96,000 PO. We've only received one invoice. There was a note on the PO that said slow start with ramp up in the first few months. First invoice had come in at 15.2, so AI is predicting for the month of June it's going to be a little bit higher, mainly based on that comment that was put on the PO. So it's predicting 18,000, and its confidence level is 72%, and it's giving you the indicators here as to how it came up with this prediction and how confident it is. The last one is for legal services. It's a $45,000 PO. There's no previous invoices have come in, but there is a milestone that says phase 1 due July 15th. This one, AI is really just doing a straight line, saying $45,000 divided by 3 months, $15,000 a month. It's no history. We have no feedback. So it's doing the best it can. And it comes up with a $15,000 estimate with a 61% confidence. So you can see how the factors that we talked about up here are really put into how it's making its predictions, and it's showing you along the way how it made the predictions and how confident it is around those predictions. Predictions are great. Go ahead.
Yeah, predictions are great. But when it comes to accountability, it's really giving you all of that information and insight. So when we think about things like descriptions and how people read information to then put it in an Excel spreadsheet, this is really where the AI is ingesting that information, processing it just like anyone else, but giving you the background information and audit trail behind it.
Great. Yeah, so predictions are great, but let's get some validation on these predictions before we consider these the actual journal entry that we're going to post. So how do we do that? In our first version of this, we're going to use Teams to get feedback from our PO owners. So let's do that. And you'll see Auto Accrual AI has sent 2 Teams messages out. One went to Sarah Chen. She owns the first two services POs that we had, one for Tech Forward and one for Pinnacle Advisory. And then James Park also got a message at the same time for the Meridian Legal Group. So when somebody gets the Teams message from Auto Accrual AI, they can review this. They can look at the PO details. They can see all the information that was provided on the previous screen as how the predictions were made. She can also see the indicators as to how confident the AI thinks the prediction was. And in this case, Sarah looks at this and she decides she needs to make an adjustment. So she clicks adjust and types in a message that said, yeah, Tech Forward looks good at 6,500, but Pinnacle should be 15.5. The team didn't ramp as the team is ramping slower than we expected. Auto Accrual AI comes back and says, perfect, you've approved Tech Forward, and Pinnacle will make the adjustment based on your feedback. Auto Accrual AI is now going to take this feedback and consider it in the month-end accrual for the following months. For James Park, he got the message for Meridian Legal. It predicted 15,000. He agrees with this. He could do the same things Sarah did. He could look at the PO details. He could adjust, but in this case, he's just going to approve because he believes that's correct. So he approves it, and Auto Accrual AI comes back and says, great, thanks. We've captured this and we'll use it for future predictions also. All right, so we've got our feedback from our PO owners. Now we just go to our audit trail. This is where we keep track of everything that's happened along the way. And you can see that we have the service POs that have been validated by the PO owners. Shows us the supplier, the PO owner, the confidence, what the AI predicted, what the final amount was that we got back from the PO owner, the variance, and the status. So now we know our service PO accrual for this month should be 37,000. We also have a table here where we keep track of anything that we didn't get responses for. And this is where the admin who's running Auto Accruals AI for your company could decide to approve ones that we didn't get responses from. They could adjust, they could resend, or they could escalate. So we're going to build all that in so that you can take action on the ones that the PO owners did not take action on. And down at the bottom, just a validation summary of what happened along the way. Again, we want to keep track of this from an audit perspective and know what was predicted, what was accepted by the end user, what was adjusted, so that we can have that as our audit trail along the way. If we look at what the learning insights could look like, we've been using this system for about 9 months. And you can see when we first started back in October, we were sitting at about a 68% accuracy. As the system started learning, started seeing invoice volumes coming in, getting feedback from end users, the AI is learning and getting smarter. The accuracy is getting better over time. And for the month of June, we're sitting at a 94% accuracy based on all the learning the system's done over time. So now let's get to the last part here where we create the journal entry. Here's where we pull everything back together in one spot. So we have the journal entry for services POs, materials POs, and non-PO invoices all back on the same screen here. So everything that we started with, all 9 POs are here, or all 9 accruals are here. We have an 182,100 combined accrual that's going to happen. You see the table, the AI predicted ones, the materials, which are, again, were just straight math, and the non-PO ones, which again are just straight math. We have a balanced file. It's ready. You can see the accounts here. We would have the full accounting information behind this. We're just showing you the account here at the top. But a lot of these POs are going to could have multiple line items with detailed accounting. We have all that in the background, which would be part of the accrual posting. I keep mentioning the full audit trail we have along the way. That's really important that we keep that. And the last step is here where we post to the ERP. A few options that we'll have in our system. One is to give you a file, which you would then manually post in the ERP as a journal entry, or we can integrate directly to the ERP and post that entry for you. So in this scenario, I'm just going to pretend we're posting the file or we're posting directly via integration, and we post it. We get a message that the journal entry was posted successfully. And the auto reversal is also scheduled for July, for the first of the month, the next month. Obviously can be adjusted to whatever date you need that to happen. But the auto reversal is important to do as these transactions actually do finish out. You don't want to have the accrual sitting there also.
And Bruce, before we move on, I know seeing some of the questions come through the chat, and I know that this one will probably come up, is Auto Accrual AI ERP agnostic, or are there specific ERPs that you can use?
Yeah, so we are building this to be agnostic. So there's no specific ERP we're building it for. We want to make this flexible. So we pull the data from Coupa and wherever it needs to go on the end. Obviously, we need to work on the integration with you and what or file format that you would need. But yeah, it is going to be agnostic. All right. Let me go back to the PowerPoint now. We did the live demo. And Melissa, back to you.
Great. So our last question, and then we will open it up to some of the questions that y'all have been asking in the chat, or if you want to put some in. But our last question to ask you is, what percentage of your accrual process is automated today? Hey, and as expected, probably based on some of the numbers I've seen before, 0 to 25% is the vast majority. So very manual process and not a lot of automation. So Moving on to our last slide and next steps before we open it up for some of the questions, and I'll pose some that were asked in the questions as well. We've just walked you through an interactive demo, really showcasing Auto Accrual AI's experience end to end. If this is something that you are interested in learning more about and would like us to do a data assessment to understand your current PO and invoice landscape, we are happy to do that and would love to be in touch with you. We then would move into a pilot design, configuring the scope for a 2-month proof of concept before go live with full deployment, potential integration to your ERP as well as Coupa, and then ensuring that the continuous learning is taking place. We can open it up to questions. I would like to just bring up a couple that we've seen. Jeff has been doing a great job answering them. We've had quite a few, and I want to just call out a couple that we've seen on a few repeats of. But one thing I do want to know is that is a big one, Bruce, is can it be a Slack message, a Outlook alert, or is it really just on Teams?
Yeah, so version 1 of this will be Teams. And then on our roadmap is to build in Slack messaging and email. So that will be in most likely the next release, but the first release is going to be focused on Teams.
Great.
Jeff, I don't know if you want to jump in with anything else to say on that, but that's kind of our roadmap.
Yep, you said exactly what I just responded with. Wave 2 will be Slack plus email, and there's a broader config options versus just Teams Direct Connect.
Yeah, and I don't know if this question came in, but when we talk about email, sometimes people ask about, can we send the message to the supplier to get the information from them versus the PO owner? So that is also on our roadmap. When we build the email functionality, do we want it to go to the PO owner, or do we want to send it to the supplier and ask them? So that's also on the roadmap.
Great. So another question that I wanted to raise was around the accuracy of the information. First, with the PO, one of the questions that was asked was, how is the tool heavily reliant on the accuracy of PO inputs? For example, startups, the PO may not be as clean. Is the AI tool able to do a deeper analysis to generate the accruals based on more of the contract instead of the POs? And we got a couple of questions about how contracts or blanket POs may factor into this conversation.
Yeah, so looking at contracts is also one thing that's on our roadmap. So it's not going to be in the first release, but we are looking into how we could leverage contract information. So that's, again, that's on our roadmap. Jeff, I don't know if you want to take any other part of that question or just around the learning piece of it and messy POs.
Yeah, that would definitely be for Wave 2 for sure.
Great. And another question that came up was around the status of the invoice in Coupa's system. Does the invoice need to be approved before it can be accrued, or can the AI read the AP email box that would be, I'm assuming, in Coupa with some of the invoice smash capabilities, which is not necessarily created fully in Coupa yet, to start creating some of those accruals if they come in right around the cutoff period?
Yeah, so the challenge, I think maybe the question is around non-PO invoices, and the challenge that a lot of clients have is, I have all these non-PO invoices coming in and they're not ready to post yet because they need to go to the end user for the accounting to be set. So we do not have a solution for those types of invoices yet. Again, that's going to be in a future release. And how can we set up rules to do the accounting? Could we do it by supplier or by commodity? We would probably need to sit down with you specifically and understand how you want that to work, and we could build that in, but we don't have that in the design for the first release.
Great. And then here's another question. Can we use the model for different accruals methods, received and uninvoiced for a set of POs, only uninvoiced for other POs? Will there be different rules that can be applied? And then how customizable are the journal entries?
Probably going to let Jeff answer that one.
Sorry, Bruce, you're going to have to repeat that one. What's the question?
the question is about customization and configuration of the tool in client environments. So can the model be used for different accrual methods? How customized, and I'm paraphrasing here a little bit. How customizable is it? And can that be customized differently for different types of POs? And then similarly, can the journal entry description and category also be customized?
Yeah, so Wave 1 has some configuration for customization. So, like for example, for the if something's going to be amortized, there's the ability in the platform to put in your Coupa custom field for the start date, end date, and like if there's an amortization checkbox. So those three custom fields. There's also a config option for reversing entries versus a delta true up when doing these imports exports. So that's another config option. And I think somebody asked about LLM earlier, and so there's CrossCountry's LLM, which we have like in our suite, but there's also a bring your own Claude configuration area to add in Claude or another API tool that you might want to have that do API work on instead.
And thank you, Jeff. And Bruce, we've gotten this question a few times as well around the receipts and the material POs, which it was just part of native Coupa. Do you mind talking about how Auto Accrual AI does new things or relies on Coupa to help with in things that have been not received yet and making sure that those correct amounts pull into the tool when we post the final journal entry?
Yeah, so if it's an invoice that comes in and the invoice comes in, but the receipt has not been done yet, most people want to accrue for that because they believe the item has been delivered or the service has been rendered, but the end user just hasn't put the receipt in. So usually that's treated as an accrual. That's going to be a setting that we can adjust. So the way Jeff is building it is that's going to be adjustable depending on your requirements.
Perfect. All right. These are such great questions. Thank you all for putting these in. So around the concept of approvals and the approval workflows, can we add in additional people to the approval workflows? And related to this, if you had something that was unusual or high dollar value, how can we get extra scrutiny on those?
Yeah, Jeff, do you want to take that one? I can take a stab at it, but I can maybe please.
Yeah, go ahead and go first. I'm going to finish typing out this question and then.
Perfect. Yeah. So as far as approvals, I mean, at least for version 1 of this, we are just sending this to the PO owner to get them to validate the prediction that was made. We do envision the ability to route these to other people as needed. So if we're thinking about like maybe something looks suspicious, I think we want to flag those and at least make the administrator of the system aware of that's happening, and then maybe add additional approvers or Teams messages going out. But that is on our roadmap, but it's not part of our first release.
Yeah, it was specifically added to a roadmap item because messing with approvals inside of Coupa and how auditors might view that, we felt it would be a little bit risky. So that one we moved out, but it's technically possible. Just I think the practicality around doing that in audit considerations is where we kind of push that one out.
Great. And wow, there's just so many questions. Then here, kind of going with this, if an auditor asks how the accrual was booked, I know you pointed to this, Bruce, at the end. How do we get back to the source documentation beyond just Auto Accrual AI?
Yeah, so the source documentation is the actual transaction in Coupa. So that's where everything started. So we'll always be able to point back to any POs, invoices, or receipts that were in Coupa. And then for the ones that have the AI prediction, we have the full audit trail of how that AI prediction was made, and then who it went to for review, who approved it, or who adjusted it. So that's all being maintained as part of the audit trail. But as far as the transaction started in Coupa, we can always trace back to that and where everything happened.
Perfect. And here's a good one. How does this plug into our Coupa data, and where does the data reside?
Yep, let me fill that one, Melissa. So it plugs in through Coupa's API, so it's not using like an MCP or anything beyond that to connect with Coupa. It is through Coupa's API, and there is data being stored on outside servers as part of producing the snapshot. So there would be data stored with CrossCountry to do this task.
Right. And here's a good one, and I think the answer is probably going to be maybe next release. But how does this tie into ROSM, and is this something that CrossCountry has considered?
How does it tie into ROSM? So are we talking about for invoices coming in? Is that
Correct.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think we've thought through that one yet. So good question and something to consider for future.
Right. Questions. All right. Looking through, trying to make sure we are answering everything unique. I know there's a lot of questions. Here's one. Can we pull an Excel report during the review, considering that there may be thousands of lines?
Yes, that will be a capability. You'll be able to download the transactions and look at them, the predictions, all of that will be downloadable to Excel.
Perfect. And all right. Jeff has answered like 23 questions. Jeff, are there any that you wanted to call out that you think, I know that I'm trying to filter through all of these and make sure that we're combining things appropriately. Are there any that you wanted to respond to directly? Put you on the spot there.
Not off the top of my head, no. Maybe give me a minute and I'll come back and I'll respond to it live. But I don't have one that I'm wanting to jump at. I'm still fielding
Yeah,
just the basic
perfect.
ones.
Great. So Bruce, obviously we have been talking quite a bit about accounting and auditing and controls. What types of conversations have you had with accounting advisory, other accounting, and how do they feel about a tool like this? I know I'm a CPA and I love it, but what conversations have you been having with some of our other peers or in the space?
Yeah. Yeah, so CrossCountry has an accounting advisory practice, and we have reviewed this tool with them. The concept was reviewed initially. We got a lot of good feedback from our accounting advisory practice. And as we continue to build this and iterate on it and look at roadmap items, we're pulling them in, and they're excited to get this product live with us. They're actually so excited about it that we started this with just pulling data from Coupa and posting to the ERP. They're asking us, our accounting advisory practice is now asking us, how can we pull data from an ERP and do the same thing? So, as we build this out, we're going to make this more flexible. Coupa will not be the only data source going forward. But no, it is being looked at from an audit perspective, and we are keeping close with our accounting advisory practice on that.
All right. And then I think this is a good one. Can the AI identify any duplicate POs based on vendors or descriptions?
So that's a good one, Melissa. I just answered it.
Yeah, I saw that.
The Cross Connect AI platform that we have will do that sort of work. But the accruals tool that we've gone through here does assume that the PO has been valid because of the strong rec to approval process inside of Coupa. I mean, obviously duplicates can still happen, but this tool is focused on that, that transaction's been created, has been, and is valid. If there's more control needed on that, I would say that Cross Connect AI and that broader platform we have would probably be the right solution to stop that at the source.
Perfect. All right. And then we're down to our last two questions in our last few minutes. I believe we've answered this one about the material POs having an option to receive, to confirm receipt or respond. Oh, in the tool. Got it. Okay. I'm going to rephrase this, Bruce. Does the material PO have an option to receive directly in Accrual AI or respond that there has no receipt, or would that be done in Coupa? If there isn't a receipt, can you not recruit it?
Yeah, so for the first release, you will have to go into Coupa and do the receipt. So we will not be posting receipts into Coupa from Auto Accrual AI. But that is something that we do have on our roadmap, is to determine if that's something we want to do and if it makes sense to do. So it is on our roadmap to at least think about.
Well, we are out of questions. I believe we have
Yeah.
answered everything. Thank you all so much for coming and for joining us. We really sincerely hope that you reach out to any of us, as well as any contact that you have at CrossCountry, and we would be more than happy to get into more specific details and walk through any requirements with you and your team. Bruce, is there anything you'd like to say to wrap up?
No, it's the same. Thank you. Thank you for joining, and we'd love to talk about your specific requirements. I mean, this may have been a little bit high level, but we can get into detailed requirements discussions and see how we can help. Thanks for joining.